Hey everybody, Dr. Pete Lombardi here with your weekly Thought Flash. Dr. Joe Borio asked me to fill in and do a weekly Thought Flash this month, and I'm very excited to do so, and I'm very honored. So Dr. Joe has been super busy ever since Cal Jam this year. He was a phenomenal speaker there, and we've had tons of speaking engagements ever since, and chiropassion is really starting to take off. So Dr. Joe asked me to talk to you about something very important, and that is really getting things done. You know, setting priorities, setting goals, but getting things actually done. And we all have this idea of wanting to do certain things, but we don't always accomplish everything we'd like. And let me tell you, from hanging around with Dr. Joe, there's one thing that I've noticed about that guy is that he gets things done. So what is it that makes him different than you and I? Because I'll tell you the truth, he really isn't any different. He's a pretty average Joe, so to speak. No pun intended, but he's a pretty normal guy. And that's actually one of the things I like about him. But what it is that he actually has a plan every day about what he's going to do. So in a day, he gets a lot done, and some of us could really learn a lot more from that. And that we have ideas about what we want to do, but we seem to have other things that come up, and we just don't seem to have enough time. And I hear that a lot from clients. It's like, geez, I just don't have enough time, and I don't know how he does it. Let me tell you, it is hard work running a big practice, but it's also a lot of hard work to run a small practice. It's actually exhausting running a small practice. I know I've had some slow days in my career that I'll tell you, it was like watching paint dry. It was not a lot of fun, but the more volume that you see, the more exciting things get. But how do you get there? That's the question. And the question is that you've got to have some goals and some benchmarks that you have set, but you also have to have training time. And prime time training time needs to be set aside, and you have to keep that time sacred. So things that we do with clients are we have webinars. We have an open line from 10 to 12, and then we have the webinar from 12 to 1, and that should be time that you set aside, whether you get on it at 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock, 11:30. That should be sacred time, and you should show up for that on time all the time. Okay? Now when you want to practice, when you want to play well, you got to practice well. So like, you know, pro football teams, pro basketball teams, pro baseball teams. You think the coach shows up with like, geez, you know what, I'll call practice at whatever, and you can show up, anybody can show up whenever they want to, and I'm not really sure what we're going to do today, so let's get to it, you know. And the reason that they do so well, though, is that they have an agenda. Every practice is planned out ahead of time, and that's how your practice should be. Your practice trainings should be planned out ahead of time. You should know exactly on Monday morning exactly what the team is going to be training on. How do you do that? Well, Sunday night, when you're writing your handout or whatever you're going to do for patients for as far as education, you should be doing that Sunday night, getting ready for the whole week. And you should plan out every single day as to what you're going to do. Same thing with your workout. You should be getting up every morning. You should know exactly what you're going to do for your Monday morning workout, your Tuesday morning, your Wednesday, Thursday, and all the way through the week. As far as what you're going to be eating, if you have a plan, you're much more likely to succeed. Unfortunately, most of us love to employ the method of just winging it, just going out there and flying by the seat of our pants. And a lot of you can pull off some great things without any design, but for the most part, all of us need to have some structure to follow. And if you do that with your patients, if your patients are just flying by the seat of their pants with not knowing when their next re-exam is, not knowing when their next appointment's going to be, whether they're 3 times a week, twice a week, once a week, every other week, once a month, if they don't know that, how are they going to be able to follow your recommendations? So they should know that way in advance. Everything in practice that's successful should be done way in advance. You should tell them, your patients or your practice members, way in advance about certain benchmarks that you have for them. Okay? So now one of the things that we've got coming up is September 9th and 10th in New York City. We've got a training. So training is like the major practice that you want to come to. So we're going to be training in New York City with Dr. Matt McCoy. He's going to give us some great science and some great research. And Dr. Joe and I are going to be giving you some awesome philosophy on Friday night, and all day Saturdays where we're going to be hitting the procedures, okay? All the stuff that you need to be super clean on in practice. But the major thing we're going to be training on is how to do a screening. Most people don't know how to do a fantastic screening. It's one of the greatest ways to get new patients into your practice with the least amount of expense and the least amount of time spent there. So if you want to learn how to do a great screening, get great new patients that are pre-qualified for your care, show up September 9th and 10th in New York City. It's an absolute must to be there. We're going to be changing lives. The question is, will your life be one of the lives that we change? And the people that you serve, will they be the ones that are next to have their lives changed because of the influence and the knowledge that you've learned from attending that event? So I hope to see everybody there. It's going to be a phenomenal event, and I'm telling you, I learn so much every time I hang around with this guy. So hope to see you in New York City. That was this week's Weekly Thought Flash. Have a great day. Have a great week. Have a great month. And have a fantastic year. And may your innate flow from above down, inside out.
My best friend gave me the best advice. He said each day